He wipes down the tables himself. A customer knocks a drink over near the soda fountain, and the owner of the restaurant is already there with a cloth, apologizing, offering a replacement on the house. He knows the regulars. He notices when the fryer oil gets changed late. He wears the same yellow shirt as the teenagers on the counter, buttoned, tucked, pressed. Everything about the way Gustavo Fring presents himself is built to make you stop looking at him. While nobody is looking, he runs the largest methamphetamine distribution network in the American Southwest. Strip the product out, and what remains is a business case study, a commodity nobody respects, a supply chain built around it, a legitimate brand protecting it, a regional monopoly held for years against competitors who were more violent, better connected, and far more willing to take risks. So there are two things worth understanding here: why almost nobody could touch this business, and the one thing it could not protect, which is what eventually took it apart. It was never a police problem. Start with the chicken. Los Pollos Hermanos was a real business. Real money, real staff, real tax filings, expanding on its own margins. Most fronts are a bad restaurant with the lights on, a place that exists to explain a bank deposit, and anybody who sits in one for 20 minutes can feel it. The food is an excuse. His cover paid for itself. That freed it to do something a cover normally can't. A disguise hides evidence. A reputation decides how evidence gets read. Picture him carrying trays of free food into a DEA office, shaking hands, thanked by name at a department fundraiser he helped pay for. When a tip eventually links that man to a distribution network, nobody's first instinct is suspicion. Their first instinct is that somebody has made a mistake. Investigators don't go hunting for corroboration. They go hunting for the error in the tip. Watch what he does when suspicion finally arrives anyway. His prints turn up in the apartment of a murdered chemist, and he doesn't go quiet or lawyer up. He drives to the DEA himself, sits down, and volunteers the explanation before anyone finishes framing the question. He had funded the man's education. Of course he'd been there. He walks out having made another deposit into the same account. That account took years to fill, and there was no way to fill it during the week he needed it. The image is only the outer layer. Underneath it is an industrial laundry, and under the laundry is a lab. Purpose-built, ventilated, filtered, equipped through a German conglomerate, with a fast food division and a logistics arm large enough to swallow a few pallets without a ripple. The product travels in fry batter buckets on refrigerated trucks that were already making the run. Distribution costs almost nothing extra because it rides on an operation that exists anyway. The money comes back through the tills of a chain that handles cash all day in amounts nobody questions. He owns production, he owns packaging, he owns transport, he owns retail, he owns the route the money takes home. There is no point in that chain where he has to trust a stranger, negotiate a rate, or wait on somebody else's timeline. Then look at how the pieces are kept apart. The chemists never meet the distributors. The woman handling logistics never sees the product. The kids working the counter will never know what shares their supply chain. Nobody in the organization holds enough of the picture to hand over a complete one. Look at who he hires too. No users. No shouters. Nobody who needs the job to feel like somebody. He pays well above what these people could earn anywhere else, and he pays on time. Loyalty bought with money is cheaper than loyalty bought with fear, and it lasts longer. His chemists work in clean suits and follow contamination protocol like a pharmaceutical plant. None of that is gang behavior. It's plant management, and a plant runs on people who would like to keep their jobs. His competition works the other way. The Salamancas are a business held together by one temper, and it ends on the afternoon that temper does. Fring isn't a talented criminal who stayed careful. He's an architect. Talent produces something excellent once. A system produces the same thing forever, which is why he standardizes the product down to a purity figure and a color that arrives identical in every city he serves. Buyers aren't paying for the best batch anyone ever cooked. They're paying for the certainty that next month's will match this one. Predictability is the product. Hold on to that word. It also explains the strangest thing about how he grows, which is how little of it looks like growth. He sells to the cartel for years while planning to end them, and never once lets the plan interrupt a shipment. He watches the Salamancas burn through their own people and doesn't intervene. He expands into the cities his trucks already reach and stops where they stop. Every one of those is a fight he could have had and declined. Most people in his business treat confrontation as proof of strength, which is why most of them are dead. He treats it as an expense and pays it only when there's no cheaper route to the same outcome. A machine that precise needs a particular man on top of it, and this is where it stops being about logistics. He never raises his voice. Somebody screams at him across a table in the desert, and he stands with his hands folded and says nothing, and the silence does more damage than an answer would. He lets people talk. While they fill the space, they tell him what they want, what frightens them, and how far they can be pushed. When he does move, he moves once. He kills a loyal employee in front of his own staff in complete silence, then washes, changes his shirt, and goes back to work. No speech, no justification. The absence of the speech is the point. Nobody in that room can locate the line, so everybody stays well behind it. Phenom. Volatility spends information. Every outburst is a disclosure, and the man who yells has just told the room which lever to pull. The man who waits has learned everything and given away nothing. That kind of restraint has a cost, though, and it takes 20 years to show up. Nothing gets processed, it gets filed. Then he hires somebody who reaches straight into the drawer. Walter White is brought in for one reason. The product is better, and Fring's response to a superior chemist is consistent with everything else he's built. He doesn't want a star. He wants a documented process, so the operation never depends on one man's mood or health or willingness to show up. So he hires a second chemist, puts him in the same lab, in the same suit, at the same station, and has him write the method down. To Fring, that's procurement. To Walter, it's a man in his clothes taking notes on his life's work. Nothing has been threatened. Nothing has been said. The message arrives anyway, and it has nothing to do with money. A man protecting his income will negotiate. A man protecting his sense of who he is does things that make no financial sense at all, and does them faster than anyone expects. Fring priced the operational risk perfectly, and never priced that one. Gale is killed. Walter becomes the only remaining source, and the redundancy plan is gone in a night. His counterattack is genuinely elegant. He doesn't go after Walter. He goes after Walter's supply of loyalty. He separates Jesse Pinkman from him, takes him out of the lab and into the trucks, sends him on runs, puts him in a room with cartel chemists, and lets him stand there and get it right without a coach, asks his opinion, waits for the answer. Then he hands Jesse the one thing Walter had spent 2 years withholding, which is the plain statement that the work is his own. A man who has been told his whole life that he's the weak link will follow whoever stops saying it. That's the sophisticated move, and it's also where the reading goes wrong. He treats Jesse as an asset that can be reassigned to a better manager, and Walter as a rational actor who will accept a losing position. Both are how a systems thinker sees people. Both are how a systems thinker gets surprised. None of it should matter anyway. The lab is unreachable, the money is clean, the reputation is armor, and losing any single part of the organization changes nothing. So if you can't attack the business, and you can't attack his judgment, what is there left to hit? One thing. It has nothing to do with the business. 20 years earlier, in Mexico, he had a partner, a chemist named Max, and by every indication the person he was closest to on Earth. They built a legitimate restaurant business together, then used Max's chemistry to pitch the cartel on something better than what they were being sold. Hector Salamanca shot Max in the head beside Don Eladio's pool, in front of everyone, and left Fring on the tiles next to the body so he would have to live with it. Everything after that is construction work on one plan. The restaurants, the expansion, the German money, the friendships with federal agents, 20 years of not moving, and it works. He goes back to the same house, by the same pool, carrying a bottle of tequila. He drinks first, in front of all of them, because a man who won't drink is a man they'd search. Then he excuses himself and empties his own stomach in a bathroom, while the poison starts working on the table outside. He walks out of that compound with the cartel leadership dying behind him. He owns the territory they owned. He has a spotless name, a monopoly, the gratitude of the DEA, and one old enemy left alive in a nursing home who can't speak, walk, or feed himself. He has won everything he set out to win. He keeps driving across town anyway. He doesn't send anyone. Same parking space, same corridor, same chair pulled up in front of the wheelchair, and he tells Hector personally when another Salamanca dies. He waits for the eyes. He waits for the hand to reach the bell. There is no revenue in that room. Mike Ehrmantraut is worth a second here. Same discipline, same refusal to move without a reason. Mike lost a son too. He built the rest of his life around his granddaughter. Fring built his around a man who died 20 years earlier. The wound didn't decide the outcome. What each man built on top of it did, which is precisely how you kill Gustavo Fring. Walter can't reach the lab, can't touch the money, can't expose him without exposing himself. So he stops attacking the system and starts reading the man. He isn't outmaneuvering him, he's diagnosing him. Everyone else has spent years being managed by someone nobody could predict. Walter looks at the one appointment that has never been delegated, rescheduled, or skipped in 2 decades, and understands what it means. He'll come himself. So the bomb doesn't go near the laundry, the trucks, or the restaurants. It goes under the wheelchair of the old man Fring kept alive on purpose. The instrument of his revenge becomes the delivery mechanism. He walks into a nursing home with no operational reason to be in the building, on a day when every instinct he has ever trusted is telling him to stay away, and dies in a room he chose to enter. Go back through it now, and it reads differently. The patience that outlasted every competitor was the same patience keeping a 20-year-old grudge warm. He didn't wait because he was strategic. He waited because he couldn't put it down, and strategy is what that looked like from outside. The consistency that made the operation reliable made him legible. Same route, same schedule, same visit. Consistency is an asset in a supply chain and a liability in a person. The control that made him unreadable made him certain. He had read everybody correctly for so long that he stopped seriously entertaining being read. The system never failed. The lab kept producing, the restaurants kept serving, the money kept moving, the compartments held, nobody flipped, no warrant ever came. Every structure he designed did exactly what he designed it to do, right through the last day and past it. He built an organization in which no component was allowed to act on its own. He never noticed the one that still did. Most of what he built is worth stealing. Keep the front profitable. Own the distribution. Standardize until the output stops depending on whoever produced it. Pay people enough that fear is unnecessary. Let violent competitors exhaust themselves. Then remember the exception. He built the whole thing so that no single person could bring it down, including the best one he ever hired. Including, he assumed, himself. Every founder keeps one thing they won't hand off. One decision made before the company existed, that the company is quietly arranged around. From the inside it looks like commitment. From the outside it looks like a schedule you could set a watch by. He understood every system he ever built. He never audited the one running him.